Hello, Buffs. Welcome to Heard on the Go with Dr. Mull. I'm your host, Dr. Deandra Mull, Vice Chancellor for Student Life. I'm excited to use this platform to connect you with the stories, conversations, and insights to student life here at CU Boulder. Whether you're a student, Buff family member, staff, or alum, this podcast is for you. Let's get started. Welcome back to Heard on the Go with Dr. Mull. I'm your host, Dr. Deandra Mull, and I'm joined today by Austin Lujan, who's going to talk to us a bit about the Center for Student Involvement here on campus. Austin, can you begin by telling us what is the Center for Student Involvement, or CSI as we like to call it?
Yeah, no, I'd love to. So Center for Student Involvement, CSI, I like to think of us as like the student activity hub for campus. So we oversee all of our clubs and organizations. We do all of these events and programs. Just got done with the first week of fall welcome. So that was really fun with our Welcome Fest concert, our Big B Involved Fair. But we're really kind of like the place people go to when they're just kind of looking to get out of the classroom vibes, get a little bit of fun in their system, maybe get a giveaway or two. But yeah, and we're also a cost center of student government.
Wonderful. So all those things happen in just the first 2 weeks. You named a lot of different ways that students can get involved and get engaged.
Mm-hmm.
What excites you most about the new school year? This is what year? How many years have you been in higher ed?
I've been in higher ed about 7-8 years
7,
now,
8 years?
which is
Okay.
wild. I feel like I
Yeah.
was just like leaving my program.
Yes.
But I think the thing that excites me most, it's gonna be, okay, it's super cheesy, but I love the idea of just like memory making. Like, I feel like as soon as people like start college, whether it's like you're a first year student, you're a transfer student, like I think going to something like our Be Involved Fair, that's probably like one of the best experiences I've had the last couple of weeks. Just seeing all of our clubs and organizations do their thing, they're recruiting students, they're getting new members. But I feel like for students that are looking for that community, I think that's what excites me the most. Just because I was a out-of-state student, didn't get involved, knew nobody, and I felt like if I wasn't involved with an organization, I don't know where I would be. So I think just seeing students kind of start that journey, that's probably my ideal.
So I think you already leaned into what I would ask next. What is the value of getting involved? I think about when I talk to parents or students or employees or employers, for potential employers, I talk about the fact that students don't just come to see you for an education. They come for an educational experience.
Yeah.
What they learn outside the classroom is just as valuable as what they learn within it. Tell me about some of the ways that students learn beyond the classroom by being involved with CSI.
Yeah. So I would say, of course, through clubs and orgs, I think the leadership skills, just general transferable skills, like even when I think of like a person maybe has no idea how to facilitate like a meeting or a conversation until they're potentially involved in like some leadership role. And so I think seeing students either apply things that they're learning in the classroom in like their organizations, like I feel like that is something that goes a bit like unseen for a while. And for students, I don't think they're like kind of clicking it until like they get to like the end of their meeting and they're like, oh, I just did that. I facilitated like my first meeting with like these 50 people, and half of them I have no idea who they are, but like we had fun. It was organized. I had an agenda. So things like public speaking, conflict management, even just like ideating, especially when I work with students, then, they're doing event planning, they're figuring out like student retreats, like what their team activities and icebreakers are. Like, it's really cool to see like the gears like turning when we're working with them in CSI. And we're like, yeah, like this is your idea. You just maybe need a little bit of some guardrails, like, along the way. You may not know how to reserve a space, so let's figure out how to get that reservation. You may have no idea how to manage money because they're like, oh, I see $20 and that's like everything to me. I don't know what to do with a $5,000 budget from like a student funding board. We'll help them kind of figure out like the ins and outs of like, okay, let's direct this to catering. Let's figure out security. Let's figure out if you have a reservation fee. Do you need insurance for your event? All of that type of stuff.
So I think you just hit it home when you just said students are learning how to lead, liaise, and basically level up.
Yeah.
So they're learning how to take the skills they're learning there in this club setting and apply it to different things too. A lot of our students are new. How many student orgs do we have on campus?
So I would say on average, we have about 500 active orgs. They're right now going through a lot of the registration. So if you're on Buff Connect and you're seeing a couple going through registration, they're getting there. And then I would say we also see like maybe 100 new organizations get proposed to us every year.
Wow.
But on average, active orgs, about 500. And that also includes some of our like social fraternities and sororities. So a club or organization, fraternity or sorority, honor society, or even like a hobby organization. Like one of my favorite groups last year they're called Buffy Buffs, but they're all about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And so their whole gig is like, oh, we're gonna watch this show every single like meeting. We're gonna debrief about it, and that's our whole organization, Austin. I'm like, yeah, I love that. Approve.
I do love that. Students can come in, and if they don't find what they're looking for, they can create it. That's the best
Exactly.
part about CU.
Yeah.
CU gives you the platform to both launch and to lead. And so
Absolutely.
certainly having that space to do that. So you mentioned 500 plus student organizations. We
Yeah.
have over 7,200 new incoming students.
Yup.
What about those students who are unsure of how to find their way? They've never been involved in a student org. They know that coming in, they're from, let's say, Maine, and
Yeah.
they don't know a soul here. What are some of the tips you have for them to find their way and to get involved?
Yeah, I think one of my first tips is like, it's totally okay. Like I think it's good to explore multiple organizations. Like I was telling families about that and some of our new students and some of our pre-arrival programs for campus, like the last couple of weeks of get out of your comfort zone. If you're really, really into anime, find the CU Anime Club. If you really, really enjoy your major, but you maybe are not super sure if like you're as well equipped compared to like maybe other peers or students kind of coming into that same program, dabble into like that, pre-health organization. But it's okay if you're not vibing with a certain group, because if anything, you can either create another organization, and we again see that a lot with CSI, but it's okay to kind of go at your own pace. Because I feel like I hear that question a lot, from friends and families that are just kind of, curious to protect their student or make sure their student is having a good time of like, what is the best formula? Should they get involved with 10 organizations? Should they have 2 on-campus jobs? Should they be a research assistant? Should they be doing a full like term load and everything? And I kind of tell them like, oh, like let your student explore. But if they want to try involvement, like maybe go on for a little bit. But if you need to cut back some things, again, that's completely fine. Because at the end of the day, that's kind of like their style, their journey. So if it's not this year that maybe they're super involved, maybe it could be another year. Or also involvement does look differently for folks. So I think that's also something good to keep in mind too.
Get involved, get engaged, and find what works for you.
Yeah.
Hearing that as a theme. We also have thousands of events that we put on across campus yearly.
Yeah.
If you could name 2 events that you think that students moving forward should take part in, what would
Okay.
those 2 be? They've already had them, the Get Involved Fair.
Yeah.
They've had so many different things.
Yep.
We've experienced our first football game
Yup.
for those incoming students who got passes.
Yeah.
There's soccer, there's volleyball, there's all types of things.
Yeah.
Give me 2 events that you would say to a student, don't miss these.
2 events. Well, one.
I know that's hard.
I know, right? There's so many of them, Dr. Mull. The first one, kind of, I'll speak broadly. Our Distinguished Speakers Board and our Cultural Events Board, they tend to bring like a lot of really well-known speakers to campus. So I would say keep an eye for those 2 organizations because they have a lot of things that they're going to be delivering for this year. Probably that didn't answer the question, I guess, specifically, but the other event that I think I really love, it happens in spring, so it's a little bit of ways, is our MGC Yard Show, our Multicultural Greek Council Yard Show. And that's where all of our fraternities and sororities come together. They really kind of present through strolling and stepping, and they just kind of showcase what their organization is. I think one of the other things why I love that group so much, or that event so much, is we see other students from other campuses. So I think just seeing that community kind of come together, seeing them in unison, regardless if they've, met each other for the first time, they were just hanging out the past weekend, maybe they went to another institution's yard show to show support. Like I really love, I think, what that brings to our campus and community.
Well, and I think you just hit on a very important part of what we do, and that's creating a sense of belonging and mattering here at CU. Your student organizations are central to that role. We know that we can do a lot beyond the student orgs or with the student orgs, but student orgs themselves are really critical in that space. How do you believe that CSI proper helps foster a sense of belonging for our students?
Yeah, so Really, you mentioned it, student orgs. I think the programming and the event approach that we take is really admirable, to be honest. Like when it comes to cultural programming to celebrate, Heritage Month, especially for our students that may struggle finding their community on campus, or they may struggle finding these traditions and cultures that they normally celebrate, maybe with friends and other families. Seeing those from CSI in collaboration with like other departments like the center on campus, those are things that we can really do to like create a lot of that mattering, that sense of belonging. But we also have programs that are super large scale. Like we just had the concert, what, like maybe 2 weekends ago at this point. But a lot of students, they're not, big concert folks. They may not be large crowds. They may be super big introverts. And they're like, I
Uh-huh.
like small
Uh-huh.
doses of engagement, CSI. Give me some of that. And we have things like a DIY program, so a lot of craft programs. One is actually happening tonight to kind of kick off the series. We have film nights with our program council. We have ticket giveaways when we want students to maybe do some outside of campus excursions with some of their friends. So I would say like we provide a little bit of everything to the student body, just because we don't want students to feel like I need to be X, Y, and Z person and only go to maybe these big, massive events to have a really solid college experience. I think it's totally okay to, lean into a craft night, lean into a guided paint class, maybe go to a speaker event where you're really admiring that person for the first time. And who knows, maybe you get to take a little picture afterwards too. So I would say programs and events are also something that we'll couple with like the student organizations and student boards.
So CSI has really found its place in helping to create community and sense of belonging because
Mhm.
again, you're helping students navigate 500 plus potential opportunities to
Yeah.
do so just for the clubs
Mhm.
itself, and then not even including the events. So the events are a place for students to really get into it. So
Mhm.
I appreciate what you all do in CSI to create community, to really get students involved and engaged.
Thank you.
So we know that students can get involved. We also know that
Mhm.
they can get over involved.
Oh, yep, yep.
So, how do you all help students find out what works for them, and how do you offer them guidance as they figure out what that proper balance is?
Honestly, just like real talk with them. Sometimes I have to like sit students down and we naturally have a conversation where they're like, "Oh wow, I don't think I can be in three places at once." I'm like, no, I don't think you can. So like let's kind of like reel that in. And so we'll have conversations about, where do they find the most value? Like where do they find the most prioritization with like their time? I always tell students, we all have 24 hours in a day. I do think students are so busy, much busier than me as like a professional staff when I consider like a course load, the social life, friends and family. Maybe they have an on campus job or two. Maybe they also have an off campus job. And they also may just have, other struggles going on. So, how do we kind of validate that you don't need to be so involved? Because is that looking to prove a certain point? Like, are you trying to say, me being involved in 10 organizations, having 5 on-campus jobs, one of them maybe being an RA, that showcases that you're better? Maybe not. Maybe
Yeah.
that's also causing a lot of stress. So again, how do we reel them in a little bit in CSI? Not to eliminate involvement, but maybe to prioritize involvement. Like, are you taking a step back from a couple clubs this year? Does that mean you're a member versus you're an officer? Are you maybe looking at taking on like more classes one semester? So you do have to eliminate a lot of the organizations, but how are you keeping that one? Because potentially that is where your community is. Like that's where your people are at. So we don't want to, completely eliminate it, but we also don't want to overburden students with them because involvement's easy to get super involved in. I was like that my junior year, and I learned very fast that I can't be
Yeah.
involved if I'm not a student. So I think that also helps me kind of chat with our buffs too of like, yeah, you are paying to go to school. The involvement should be complementary
Yes.
versus you paying all of the money to get involved with a couple organizations. Like, what about the degree? What about the
Yes.
classes? How is that also coming to the forefront?
So finding balance in all
Mhm.
the places and all the ways, because students, again, they come in, this a holistic experience that they're seeking.
Yeah.
Engagement and involvement is critical,
Hmm.
and students' sense of balance and how they find their way so they're not overwhelmed
Yeah.
by it is also really important.
Yeah.
So, and I appreciate you sharing. You have real life experience that brings
Yeah.
you to the table and to the forefront when you're having conversations with students. I
Hmm.
think that's helpful. They get to see the real experiences that help them to make their own
Yeah.
decisions too. Really critical.
Yeah.
So I have a staff person who worked in student activities that always told me that what was most important to him was finding joy in his work. And that's why he loves student activities, that he always found joy. What's your sense of joy in this work?
Oh,
So
Dr.
what brings you
Mull.
joy?
I I love what we do. Like coming from my own lived experience and my story, not knowing anybody, not being involved in high school, not doing anything. I thought I was so, I guess, like behind everybody else. But I think seeing myself like blossom in that and kind of finding my advisors and folks that were, reeling me in when Austin was getting too involved, or really teaching me things of like, hey, you're having this conflict, let's approach it like this. Or, hey, we need to plan this event, but these are our constraints. Like, I feel like that really empowered me as a person in general. And so I think that's why I love being in CSI. That's why I love doing student activities work, is because it's fun, absolutely. But I would say it was just entirely mind blowing for me, of the opportunity to learn things I never honestly knew I could do.
Yeah.
Like if you were to tell like 18-year-old Austin, like, hey, you're gonna be on a podcast talking about student activities and like involvement and how impactful that was, I would have been like, okay, you need to calm down, because I am super shy and I do not like talking to people and I was never involved. And so I think if I can help create that for other students, or, put on like do a presentation and like let students know like, yeah, do these things, because maybe that'll help you, or maybe this is the exact advice you need from a random stranger, is to look at Buff Connect, look at the categories, consider creating a new org, because you never know how many other students are looking for that same community. I think just like driving that ship a bit, especially with my team, that I think is what fuels me like every single day. And it's also it's never a dull day with student organizations. I think a lot of the problem solving, a lot of the leadership transition. And I think that's also the fun thing, is working with like a bunch of students and then they graduate and then I get a new batch and you start all over again. And I think it's also just kind of seeing that evolution from like a first year student to a graduating senior, or a transfer student that, doesn't know our community. They think that being an upperclassman is like, it's like, oh, like they missed their first and their second year. What are they to do? And I've worked with so many transfer students where it's like, no, it's not too late. Let's get you involved. What do you like to do? Let's figure it out.
Well, I think that you summed it up well, is that you have 500 plus student organization and a heck of a lot of staff in CSI who want students to be successful and ultimately help them to bloom where they've been planted. So they get to do that every day in their different activities and engagements. So I'm grateful for all the things you all do. We know that we have nearly 40,000 students who are looking to find their way. And so involvement is not just for our undergraduate students, it's for our undergrad, our grad, our professional students. They all have student organizations here and opportunities. So thank you for helping students find their joy in their place. Thank you for bringing joy to the work. And we really do appreciate all you're doing to create community here at CU.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So there you have it. Heard on the Go with Dr. Mull and Austin Lujan. Thank you so much, Austin, and we'll see you next time. Go Buffs!
Go Buffs!